Hello guys, and welcome back to Sinister Stories. Today we're going to be talking about what might be humanity's biggest question. Are we alone? Now for millennia, humans have been wondering what lies in the recesses of space. Is there anything watching us? Is there anything else out there that can think like us? Now humans are naturally curious creatures. We want to know the answer to almost everything. Now this includes questions that we might never know the answer to, or maybe questions that we don't want to know the answer to. Whenever humans can't find out an answer to something, we create theories and thoughts that try to explain what we don't know. And that's exactly what we'll be covering today. The 5 scariest theories of extraterrestrials. Now before we start the video, make sure to hit that sub button so you won't miss any of my future videos just like this one. A like would also be appreciated. Now without further ado, let's get into the video. Now the zoo hypothesis is something that we can all relate to. We've all been to some sort of zoo or aquarium where we stand behind a glass and observe creatures we're not normally used to seeing. Now imagine the scenario in a much broader scale, except we are the animals. Now this theory claims that there are actually aliens that are constantly observing us, but they do not interact with us because they don't want to mess with our natural evolution. Now this means that the aliens stay far away from the Earth, but close enough to be able to observe what we do and how we progress. Now an even creepier version of this is if you would imagine it to be an actual zoo. Maybe there are intergalactic creatures out there that pay to see our kind of planet, to see our primitive species grow and flourish and make dumb mistakes that maybe these species have never seen before. Maybe they're so evolved that they forget what it's like to be this primitive, and they take pleasure in watching us make mistakes and grow. Now even at a zoo, the zookeepers have to interact with the animals at some point in order to keep them safe or to feed them. And maybe that's the same case with us humans. Maybe these intergalactic creatures push us a certain way or guide us a certain way in order to make sure that we don't destroy ourselves. Maybe they are the cause of tsunamis, earthquakes, or who knows what, stopping us from killing ourselves and making sure that we progress in a way that will benefit us in the future. Now this might seem scary enough, but you also have to realize that this would mean they have complete control over the human race. If they think that we're progressing in a way that's much too violent for the neighboring communities, then they might choose to destroy us. And the sad thing is, we will never see it coming. If there are alien creatures studying the Earth, then that means that they're probably millions of years more advanced than us. So even if we did have a sign that they're gonna attack, there's most likely very little we can do about it. So if this is the case, then we just have to wait and pray that our alien overlords don't take us out on command. And the best case scenario is that hopefully one day we will be evolved enough and have progressed far enough to join their intergalactic community. Now this next theory is similar to the first in a few ways. The first thing is that we're being observed by extraterrestrials from afar, but the reason for this is completely different. Now in this theory, the aliens that are actually observing us is ourselves. They are other human beings. Now the main point of this theory is that Earth is in fact a prison, and that everyone here is just the offspring of a generation that rebelled. Now maybe a millennia ago, humans actually fought against themselves, and in order to keep the peace, they threw the quote-unquote bad guys onto a deserted planet to live the rest of their days. Unknowingly to them, however, we did not die off, and in fact, they started thriving on this planet. And maybe the original humans do not kill us because it would be immoral, since we're not the original generation that rebelled against them. We are just the offspring. Now, punishing people's generations is not something that is new to humanity. People like Kim Jong-un have done this for years, where they punish people and the generations that come after them. It is well-known knowledge that in North Korea, whenever somebody is punished, their whole family is sent with them, and 3 generations of this family must be punished for that crime. So this is not beyond human beings to do. And if we are more evolved in the future, we might even do this on rogue planets where we just drop people off and leave them there by themselves. Now some people say that this theory will make a lot of sense, since they notice that humans don't always seem like they belong on Earth. Now the first thing that is mentioned is that humans have a lot of natural back problems. Now people think this is because our original planet had less gravity. Maybe our body and bones were not made for this type of gravity at all, And even though we are adjusting as the generations go on, our body still struggles to keep up. Another thing people argue about this theory is how there's a lot of things that are poisonous to us. If we grew up on this planet, why are there so many things on this earth that would kill us? It seems only natural that our natural habitat would nourish us in every way, and that we will get used to these type of things as evolution goes on. And whether you want to believe this theory or not, you do have to admit that there are times where humans just seem like they don't belong on Earth. And who knows, maybe in the future the original humans are going to come back to Earth and integrate us back into the human race, having served our time and we're ready to move on. Now this next theory will stop you from feeling comfortable no matter where you are. Now this theory claims that the aliens that are watching us are actually four-dimensional beings, and that the reason that they can watch us so easily is because they're always around us. We just can't detect them. Now, if we ran into some two-dimensional creatures, they would have a hard time seeing what we are, three-dimensional creatures, because they can only see a sliver of us. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into this explanation because it's really hard to understand, but I will leave a link in the description below. That way you can check it out if you do want to find out more about this. But the gist of this theory is that creatures from different dimensions will have a hard time distinguishing each other. We might be seeing these creatures every single day, but since they are four-dimensional creatures, our brain cannot comprehend what we are looking at, and because of this, we can't detect them whatsoever. Now this means that no matter where you are in the world, there just might be a creature right next to you studying your every single move, and there's not a single thing that you could do about it. Now the general consensus of this theory, if it is true, is that these aliens are in fact not hostile. If these creatures are around us like the theory suggests, then they could have destroyed us a long time ago without us even noticing. But they do not. So if they are around, they might just be studying us and trying to figure out what exactly three-dimensional creatures do. So just in case this theory is true, I'd watch what I'd say about aliens out loud. Now this theory might be one of the most possible theories out there, and that is that we are in fact an ancestor simulation being watched by ourselves. Now this theory claims that the aliens that are actually watching us are us from the future, and they created this machine in order to simulate how the Earth developed and how humanity developed. Now what this basically means is that me and you are ones and zeros that are created by these future humans in order to see what happened in the past. The life me and you are living is not ours, but it's just a simulation of somebody that lived in the past, and we're made to believe that it's ours. Now this theory has actually gotten a lot of backing from a lot of famous people, including Elon Musk, who says it's a 1 in a billion chance that we are the original living beings, and we are not in a simulation. And what's scary is that some theoretical physicists have actually found evidence in string theory of something that looks to be computer code. Now just watch this interview right here.
Very strange images that are behind your head right now. These are pictures of equations. I've been, for the last 15 years, trying to answer the kinds of questions that my colleagues here have been raising. And what I've come to understand is that there are these incredible pictures that contain all the information of a set of equations that are related to string theory. And it's even more bizarre than that, because when you then try to understand these pictures, you find out that buried in them are computer codes, just like the type that you find in a browser when you go surf the web. And so I'm left with the puzzle of trying to figure out whether I live in the Matrix or not.
Wait, you're blowing my mind at this moment. So you're saying, are you saying your attempt to understand the fundamental operations of nature leads you to a set of equations that are indistinguishable from the equations that drive search engines and browsers on our computers?
That is correct. So
Wait, I have to just be silent for a minute here. So you're saying as you dig deeper, you find computer code writ in the fabric of the cosmos?
into the equations that we want to use to describe the cosmos, yes.
Computer code.
Computer code, strings of bits of ones and zeros.
It's not just sort of resembles computer code, you're saying it is computer code.
It's not even just is computer code, it's a special kind of computer code that was invented by a scientist named Claude Shannon in the 1940s. That's what we find very, very deeply inside the equations that occur in string theory. and in general in systems that we say are supersymmetric.
Okay. Time to go home, I think. Where are we going to go? So are you saying we're all just, there's some entity that programmed the universe, and we're just expressions of their code?
Well, I didn't say that. Some of those
Like the Matrix? That's what you said.
Some of those codes are showing on the screen behind you right now. They don't look like codes, but these pictures, which we call adinkras, are graphical representations of sets of equations that are based on codes. So this is, in fact, to answer your question more directly, I have in my life come to a very strange place because I never expected that the movie The Matrix might be an accurate representation of the place in which I live.
Well, this means that everything we feel, we touch, is nothing but code. And if we are in fact in a simulation, we are trying to find a way out. Billionaires like Elon Musk have invested money in trying to find out if we're in a simulation or not, and if that is the case, if there is a way to get out. Now, this is something we have to be very careful with, because if our future humans find out that we're trying to escape our simulation, or if we're aware, they might just cut the program altogether, and we will cease to exist in a matter of seconds. The case could also be that the future humans will be able to reset the simulation whenever, so when we do realize that we are in a simulation, they can just rewind it, and we forget everything, and we have to learn everything all over again. Which means that we will never find the true answer to anything, and we're just in a wild goose chase that will never end. Now, thank you for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed the video. If y'all have any requests for any topics, make sure to leave them in the comments below, and I will take a look at them. Now, even though I know you're not going to believe a lot of these theories like myself, I do want you to stay open-minded, because you never know what the truth might be. If the truth ever comes out about life, I don't want it to catch you off guard. So keep an open mind and be suspicious of everything. This has been Sinister Stories, and thank you for joining me. I will see you all in the next one. Stay safe out there.